Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to this tutorial section where we'll be trying to um, go through the concept of developing a dashboard using Microsoft Excel. On my screen right now is a screenshot of an already developed dashboard. This is presumed to be for Department of Nutrition, the Federal Ministry of Health, um, having to do with supportive supervision for the North Central Zone. Now, on this dashboard, you could see we have different metrics showing total number of facilities, total number of health workers, total number of supervisors that were engaged, and then total population that was captured during this exercise. I mean, in terms of the catchment area of the summation of the number of people catered for by the health facilities that were supervised within the period under review. Now, we have records of supervision that were done in 2020, 2021, 2022, down to 2025. Now here we have number of visits. We have from the visits we discovered the number of trainings that occurred, perhaps the number of trainings that occurred, whether conducted by the Federal Ministry of Health or by any other organization that has been training health workers on nutrition. Then here we also have a metric showing the highest, that's just the top 10 of the facilities, the facilities that have more number of trained personnel. Top 10 amongst them is what we have listed here. And then here we have a metric showing how each of these people we saw were trained. So perhaps there is need for a decision about what is the best approach to training these health workers. So you could see from here that SNO has uh, most effect on the training of these health workers, then followed by national trainers. Whatever all this represents, then here we have the chart showing the number of uh, trained personnel from each the number of trained personnel from each state. Okay, you can notice the imbalance. Now, there is need for us to note that the data we used for this was simply generated using a generative app. So whatever it gave us is what we used in implementing this. There is no accuracy to it. I don't think it actually mimics the real life scenario appropriately. However, I consider it as sufficient for the purpose we are for the demonstration we are doing. So this is the dashboard we would be attempting to create. All right, let's quickly look at the data we'll be working with. Now, here we have the data sets. Going from the beginning, here we have visits, the date of visits for the supervision. I actually inserted this on my own just to track the serial number for each of the visits. We now give a serial number attached to it. So assuming this first visit happened on so day. All right. Now this is for the states, indicating for each facility which state is it in, and this is the local government. This is the ward where it is. This is the community here it is, and then this is the name of the facility. This is the name of the facility that is being visited. So, like I said, there is nothing real about it. Wherever it matches, then just know that that's a coincidence. Now, here we have a classification of whether it is the what type of facility it is, whether it is a private facility or a public facility. Then, what level of healthcare is it, tertiary or primary? Here we have the name of the supervisor who conducted the visitation. Even if it's a team, here let's assume we've recorded the name of the lead supervisor. Then designation of the supervisor, the phone number of the supervisor, the uh, total population of the catchment area. So each hospital has a target population it is considered as taken care of. Okay, now for the purpose of this dashboard, this particular area I'm highlighting may not be useful, may not be applicable here. If I scroll down to this point, all these are not applicable here, so I can actually decide to do away with them. Let's do away with them. I have this data set complete elsewhere. So here we have whether the training has occurred or not for hand washing precisely. So the number of health workers trained on hand washing is recorded here. The date of the training. So in case we're interested in whether there is need for another training, assuming the previous one has expired. That's just right there. Now, this is who conducted the training. All right, this is the complete data set. The analysis we have at the dashboard may not be as precise, as complete as one may assume, but at least it is fair. So to proceed with this, we will quickly, the best approach to this is to begin by creating something like what we have here, like getting a pivot table or creating the elements that will be appearing in the dashboard of consideration we are working on. So I already did this, but we are going to repeat it together. Okay, so one after the other, I might change a few things somewhere, but I'll try my best to make this. All right, now to make it simpler for us, we'll do a wireframe that will enable us to a wireframe that will enable us to plan out what we want to do. Okay, so the wireframe goes as thus. So the wireframe will have shows that we'll be having, say, a logo here. We'll have the logo of the ministry here. We'll have the logo of the ministry here. So I can just use a tick border to identify that. Okay, then we will now have the name of maybe the title of the dashboard. We'll have the title of the dashboard here. Okay, below that, um, we will now have the cards that are showing each of those metrics. Okay, we could have about four of them. We could have about four of them. Let's do this way. Have another one. We have another one. Okay, as time goes on, we'll adjust what needs to be adjusted. All right, now we will now have our tables. So let's assume we're maintaining the same analysis. It goes to say we'll have a table here. We'll have a small table here. We'll have another table. We'll have another table here. Okay. Then we'll now have the charts. Remember, these are just for illustrative purposes. We could use in the real life scenario, we'll use what is necessary to represent each of these. So we could have a chart here and another chart, as we can see. This is a pie chart. I expect it to be four corner in this manner. Okay, we'll have a pie chart. Yes, so all right. So we might find something else to put here. Well, let's see how it goes. All right. We will not attempt to teach everything that is possible in this tutorial as regards this, just to ensure that the tutorial don't become too lengthy. So let's begin. We'll begin by, like I said, bringing in the metrics with which we are going to create all of this. So the metrics we'll put on this sheet. So let's call this pivot table. Pivots. Yes. Now on this pivot, the first thing I want to track is the total facilities involved. How do I note the total facility? So I type total. So total facilities under consideration. This would be, how do I get this? It would be to count the number of distinct facility names. Count the number of distinct facility names. I think that would give us the number of, count the number of distinct facility names. Okay, so if a facility has been visited twice, that does not increase the number of facilities. So when we want to count the number of visits, we might take a different approach. But for now, the number of distinct facility names. So how do we do that? We begin by saying equal to count. Now, because we want to get the distinct facility names, we'll now say unique. So count unique. Then where do we find the facility names? We go back to the worksheet. This is the name of the facilities, and this is the first facility. If I hold here, hold shift, control, down arrow key, it highlights the entire column. Then I close the brackets, not the entire column anyway, the names of all the districts, sorry, all the facility names. So, but in a nutshell, what we have here is table one, that's the name of this table, name of facility, bracket closes. So this replaces the cell reference. You will understand this if you understand the concept of a table. So if I press enter, the formula is missing. Okay, we had two parentheses, please. So this closes for unique and this now closes for count. All right. Count will not give us that. It's count A, please. Count is counting the number of numbers. Why count A is counting just the number of um, items, whether they are numbers or not. So it has told us that we have 99 facilities. I'm just keeping this here for as a reminder. Okay. All right. The next thing we want to get, according to the dashboard, is total trained workers. Total trained workers. Okay. Total. Okay. Total trained workers would be to sum the number of trained workers. So we go to the column here. We have, so this will be XUM, which we are familiar with. Open brackets. Now go here. Here do we have the names of all the trained workers? Sorry, not their names rather. The For each facility, we have number of health workers that are trained on hand washing. So that's what we are getting. So I click to select the first, the number of trained workers for the first facility, hold shift, hold control, and press down arrow key. It highlights that. Then I can close my brackets and press enter. So 783 is the total number of trained workers, trained health workers. I think I would like this to be showing clearly here too. Yes. Okay, total number of trained workers. So the next thing we'll be trying to get is the total number of supervisors on duty for the purpose of this. Total number of supervisors Total supervisors used for this purpose. Okay, so um, let's take text wrap it, wrap the text like this. So now we want to get the number. Actually, this will be equal to sum. Here do we get the numbers? We go here, total number of train, sorry, total number of supervisors, right? All right, so total number of supervisors. Okay, now we presume that a supervisor might visit two facilities within this period, might visit more than one facility. So we just are checking the unique occurrence of the name of each supervisor. So it's not going to be some, please, because we have no idea of the number of we have no idea of the number of supervisors. We just assume that the names of the supervisors here, the name of the supervisors here is the only thing we have as records of the supervisors. Therefore, for each of these visits, if this man conducted this, if he has repeated supervision, he has gone 3 times, he should just be counted once and not the 3 different times he has gone. So on that note, we will equally count unique supervisor name. So we're going to say equal to count A, like we did before, and it should be unique. Unique. Then we'll go here and select the names of the supervisor, the name of the supervisor, hold shift control down arrow key, and then close the bracket, close again, and press enter. So we have 88 supervisors participating, uh, and for about 99 visits. All right, then we have the last metric we are looking for is the total number, the total population that these health facilities cater for. I think it would be ideal to bring this probably even before we have the total number of facilities. Let's understand, let's just put that before. I think it's more reasonable to do so. So I say insert, insert. All right. So here I'm saying the first thing I want to track is total population. So that's we hope to represent the number of persons these health facilities cater for. Okay. Now, how do we get that? To say equal to, this should be SUM, sum the population catered for by each of these health facilities. The population catered for by each of these health facilities. So we scroll up, total population of the catchment area, hold shift, hold control, press down, and close the brackets, press enter. So this is the figure. All right. Now, the next thing, this takes care of the upper parts. This takes care of the upper parts. The next thing we want to do is to get let's create the tables. The first table here is about the number of visits, and the second one is the number of trainings. Now, there's something interesting here. Okay, the number of visits. How do we know the number of visits? For me, since the number of visits were not tracked in any particular column, are we counting the column? That's the date of visits. I'll be counting the date of visits, presuming that the visits occurred in different days. So within each year, how many visits were held within each year? Okay, so that's going to be a pivot table. Within each year, how many visits were held? So how do we go about it? We return to this data sheet and we'll go for insert, pivot table. Is going to come from the range of that is referred to as table 1. And where should it go? This is new, this is existing. I So for existing, what's the location? We are not creating a new sheet. We want the pivot table we are creating to go to the existing table and the one we call pivot. So we click on it and then we select where we want this pivot table to appear. So I click here and click OK. So we could not get the table one of this. All right. I think there is a naming issue here. There is a naming issue here. So I would actually want to begin by deleting this one. Let me delete this. Okay. But however, let's see if the items are here, whether it's represent. So what were you trying to get? Why I had to, oh, you see, the pivots have scattered. Oh, I've done something very terrible. Can this be restored? Can this be restored? Undo does not return a remove a sheet that has been deleted. That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. There are parts of, well, if I remember the items that are here, I'll represent them. And but that goes to teach you a lesson that if you have your worksheet, you have your pivot table, and you have your dashboard, if you delete one, it might affect the other. If you delete the worksheets, I mean the data sets, it definitely will affect the pivot table. And so in this case, that's our situation. So we will try to be recreating what we want. Just ignore that. So for now, we said want to know the remembering what that table represents now, it becomes is looking like an issue for me. But that table should have the year of the supervision. So we how do we get the year of the supervision? We'll get it from the date of supervision, and that should exist under rows. So I click here to drag it into rows, and then now if you watch, it has taken the year, the quarter, it has broken this down to the dates. So this might be useful in some form of analysis. You get the quarter, you get the months, yeah, then you get even the dates. But for the purposes of what we are doing here, we might not be interested in the quarter and all of that. So we remove the dates, that one is gone. We remove the months, we remove the quarter. Let's just deal with the year. We're okay with the year. Okay, so what else are we measuring? This is the year of version. So what else are we measuring? We want to measure number of visits. So how do I know number of visits? For me, the only way I would know number of visits is still through the date when the supportive supervision happened. So I will drag that into values. So it will count the number of years, then that's the number of dates within that year. So we had 13 visits, we had 12 visits here, we have 30 in 2023, and then we had these number of visits. Okay, so that's it for number of visits. So we might want to change the name here. So the best way of changing it, I click here to change the name of this. I click here and then type this is date of visits. So, but what this column is representing for us is number of visits. So we say number of visits or support visits. Let me just put it visits. Yeah, I think it still explains. Okay, that's the number of visits. While I change this to years. All right. So another approach could have actually been to use, okay, now the next thing we'll be taking is, how do we get the number of persons trained? Sorry, the number of training, not the number of persons trained, the number of training events that happened. So we use the date of the trainings to count the number of training events that happened. So we'll look for this is dates of training. So we'll pick the date of trainings and drop it here. Now, I noticed something. Some trainings were held in 2025, but they are not captured here. How do we get that? And because of that, I'm thinking it might just be best for me to use this date of training in place of these rows. So let me remove so that it brings in 2025. Let me see if I'm correct. If I delete this one, 2025 is now there. So I removed these other ones because the number of visits, there has been no visit in 2025. There is a clash here. This is number of visits, number of trainings held within this time. Why is the number matching? Okay, if I go back to the last metrics, will it change? If I put this back here, the year of supportive supervision, remove this, year of training, remove this. Okay, the two are showing exactly the same thing. So I would want to, how else do we count the number of trainings held? Okay, it might just be best to track these in two different tables just to be sure I get what I want. Okay, let me use two different tables. So I'll copy this. Let me copy this and paste it here. Okay, in this second one, I want to say instead of date of visits, I'll use date of training. Date of training. Okay, so the difference is now showing. Okay, I'm actually able to discover this because I've done it before. Okay, so you could see that we have the number of trainings. Let's adjust this. Change the title to date of number of trainings. So number of trainings held within each year. Number of trainings held within each year. So you could see that the two are not giving exactly the same value. So this is sufficient. When we are now returning it to our dashboard, we could now choose how to go about it so that we would have the year listed, this value listed, and this value listed. Okay, so the next thing, uh, but these two, from what we designed previously, is supposed to represent one table. It's supposed to be represented in one table. So irrespective of the fact I'm showing them in two tables here, I intend to show them in one table. I intend to show them in one table. So um, I would want to note, I would want to note various number of visits. Okay, okay. So number of health workers trained on hand washing. Okay, we can actually include that here. Number of health workers trained in hand washing is the next thing we are supposed to track. So I would prefer to add that here too. I think it's doable. So I'll add it as a new column. I'll add it as a new column here. So here we have total number of health workers trained in hand washing. Number of health workers trained in hand washing. If I add that under value, that will be reflecting here. So I will rename it appropriately. Say number of health workers trained. Let's assume everything here has to do with hand washing. So I will remove this number of health workers trained, and that appears in that manner. So I'm seeing a scenario here. I'll be able to even show these three items with one table. Okay, so the next thing is for us to check who trained the most, who trained the most amongst the health workers that were trained, who trained more number of health workers, or which training program or persons or organization did better than others. Okay, so in place of national trainers, let me change that to Federal Ministry of Health. Let me just do find and replace. Yes, find national and change it to Federal Ministry of Health. Okay, so if I say replace all, okay, it has replaced all of that. Is there any other one I may choose to change? Okay, so but let it stand in this manner for now. So we will now want to check. So how do we go about that? To add another pivot table, go to insert pivots, existing, want it to be on the existing, and that's on the one we call pivot. And we click here, so it begins from here, and then click OK. So what do we want? Who trained these health workers? So we'll pick who conducted the training. We'll pick that and put under column, under rows. Whereas we'll now pick the total number of persons who were trained in each facility, total number of health workers trained. So we drop that here, and it shows you that these are the total. So for this, what do we represent here? We represent who conducted, sorry about that, who conducted the trainings, who conducted the training, and then, so this should be the sum of the number of persons they trained. Okay, so number of health workers trained, number of health workers trained. Okay, so number of health workers trained. So this stands as a pivot table here, which we will likely use to plot the pivot charts. Eventually, we will eventually use it to plot a chart. So on this other corner, we want to get the distribution of these trainings by states. The distribution of the trainings by states. The distribution of, so which state has trained more persons? That's what that is trying to answer. Each state has trained more persons. How do we go about it? It's still the number of health workers trained compared to states. So I will permit me to just copy this one again. Copy. I'll copy this, paste it here, and then in place of who trained, I will be replacing it with states. What are the names of the states? So I drop that here and then remove this one. So that converts it to Instead of who trained now, I'll be checking, I'll simply write states here. States and the number of personnel they trained. Number of personnel they trained. We might also be interested in number of facilities under each state. Okay. So number of facilities under each of these states. So instead of these, I will use name of facilities, count of name of facilities will tell us, okay, you can see Abuja is appropriated. We give Abuja in this data set about 42 health facilities were assigned to Abuja on this. All right, so we would use this to, okay, eventually maybe plot charts and all of that to show things on our dashboard. All right, this is the beginning of it. We are, it's like we have cleared the grants and right now we can begin to do our dashboards. Are we still together? All right, very quickly, we get to our dashboard and we begin to pick items. What do we want to do? I take a look again at the dashboard. How do we achieve this? How do we achieve all of these things we are seeing? We're going to pick them one after the other. So return to the wireframe is what I'll be using in place of the dashboard now. What links does this thing want us to manage, please? I don't want association with this. Okay, so the I will be putting cards here. Now, if it's in Power BI, we use cards actually, but in Excel, we don't have cards, so we'll be using text box. So we'll say insert, go to insert, text box. We'll draw the text box here. Draw, this is going to be the bigger text box. Yeah, that's the bigger text box. All right. Now, we're going to fill the color. Fill color, we can use these shapes so that we'll say fill color green. Let's use this green. You can use any color, especially if it represents the organization you're working for. The outline, I would want the outline to be, I wouldn't want it to have outline. Okay, so I want to add some flavor to it. Okay, let it shine in this manner. Let it shine in this manner. And now the we can now go home and look at what's the color of the text inside of it. I want it to be white. I don't want to beg about it. Let it be white. And now we want, what's the next thing? Okay, in order to write what this card represents, we're going to insert another card. We'll go to insert text box, and then we draw that one on top of this in this manner. Okay, and we're going to make this one to be transparent. We would want it to be transparent. This is transparency, but the color inside of it, the text color inside of it should equally be white. Make it white, and its border should not show. Its border should not show. So I think I return to shape format and look at shape outline and say no outline. Okay, so distance, I would want to insert items on them first before I move. Now, this is where you have to be very careful. I chose to complete these designs first before taking actions because there is still something I've not done. But the reason is because the moment you bring in a text, you will have to reformat as regards to the text. And then if I completely get this, I can now spread it to achieve other metrics. So to get the first metrics, I now go to, I'll put the equal sign. I've selected the text box, so I'll put equal sign and then go to where I have my pivot table. This is where the value is coming from. Click on this value and press enter. So the value comes in. And what do I need to do now? I need to change the color of this value to be white. It's not changing. I make it bold. It has become bold. Okay, so why is it not changing? It has changed to white. Maybe I didn't click very well. Okay, then the formatting, it cannot be formatted as number from here. So I would have to treat that from a distance before I return. But meanwhile, let me put this at center, and then increase the font size to say 20. Let's see. Okay, or even see what 30 gives. Um, but before that, I would want the number to be formatted appropriately. So let's return to here. We have it on the pivot table. Select this and format the number with comma, then remove the two zeros. Okay, I think I like this number. Let me return and see whether it's okay. It has adjusted the number in that manner. All right. So another thing I may wish to do, I think I prefer this to be pushed downwards so that I can now use the other smaller text box to now write what this represents. Okay, so I have the option of either typing it in here directly, or I equally do equal to, and then come, since I already took my time to type it here, total population, press enter. So I now change the color once more to white, um, make it bold, make it centralized in this manner. So I want it to be changed to white. Okay, so I now have total population properly written, and this is the total population under consideration. So I think this number is screaming. Let me reduce the font size, please. I would see what 25 is like. How about 20? Okay, 25 is perfect for me. All right, so I will have to select this and select this. Control D to duplicate it, carry this one to replace here. Control D. Good. So it has duplicated four times. Four times. So now I can adjust them. Can adjust them. All right. So my metrics are there now. And all I need to do is to begin to change the values within them. Okay. I need to start changing the values within them. So for this, we are going to replace it with, instead of B2, we go to pivot and replace it with E2. This one is going to be replaced with, after E should be F, so I assume E2, F2. Okay, this will be replaced with pivot, should be replaced with this, while this should be replaced with this. Okay, so they've all received their value, so I think I can still do the changes at once. White, bold, this is 25. And it's fine. On the other hand, we have this, make it bold and make it white. Okay, that's it for the metrics. they have been captured. The next thing for us to do is to bring in the table here. So for this table, I can say, what am I bringing in here? Um, okay, let's get the number of visits. So the number of visits is equal to, it's actually possible to come here and track this, press enter. If I do this, and if I do this, so it has taken the number of visits within the year. Okay, so, and here we want to get number of persons that are trained. It's equal to, go to the pivot charts, get this value, press enter, and drag it in this manner. Okay, do this one first, and then do this way. So we've gotten the values for the training. Okay, now the next is to get the charts for this. It's going to be a chart coming from here. So we highlight this and then click on insert, click on charts, select the type of chart we want. That's it. So we can move this chart. Right click on it, select move or copy charts to here. It's not pivot any longer. It should be moved as an object to, we're using wireframe for now, and click OK. So you carry this and use it to replace this. Okay, so now what are the things we may want to change here? Um, we may want to change the title. How do we represent who trained the most number of persons? So who trained the most number of health workers? Um, so there is no need for legend on this, so I can remove it. I click here, I remove the legend. Everything is the same color. We're not comparing it against anything. The title is in order and the axes are there. Okay, so um, let it stand like this for now. So what next? What next? We want to now put the charts that will represent the, we want to put the chart that will represent the number of facilities in each state. and then the number of trained workers in each state. So we're going to do that by selecting this, inserting a chart, insert. So this is going to be a pie chart. So might be ideal to actually use this dialog box. Let's get to pie charts. Okay, so we have this and click OK. So this shows us this. Now, because I want it to be very small, I would want to change this type of visual, change something about the visual. Now, I go to design, click here and see if I can find the exact type of chart I want. Okay, this is it. I want this. Okay. Um, this is fine. So let's take it to the sheet. I right click and say move charts, and I select where the chart should go as wireframe and then click OK. So um, I want this to fit in to this. So obviously there is a need to have some adjustments there. We'll deal with all of that. So okay, let it stand like this for now. And then what do we have on treated? We may want a similar thing. This is for trained workers. We may want a similar thing for um, number of facilities. So we select this, click insert, um, insert charts, go to pie charts. Okay, let's use donut for this. Click OK, and then still go to design. See if we can see the one that suits this. The way this is actually very small, I don't think I enjoy it this way. Okay. A lot of choices here. I'm trying to. Okay, let's see whether we can manipulate this now. So it shows legends, shows data labels by percent. We can choose to show it by value and not percent. Okay, so I think percent is still fine so that we can say this number of percent represents this and that and all of that and all of that. So I'm a little bit bothered about how to manage the legend. Okay, but that's another chart we have here. Um, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay. All right. So let me move this to the appropriate sheet, the wireframe. Click OK. And here we are. This chart won't work. Oh. This chart is gonna have so much issues. It's gonna have so much issues. All right. The way we actually planned it out at first, we didn't have even a provision for this. So fitting it in is already becoming an issue. So we already have most of the things we want. And what we now need to do is to format them to look as meaningful as what message we want to pass. So let's begin. This is the entire sheet. So to begin to format it, we'll select this. The first thing I want to do is to clean whatever existing format is existing here. So I can go to home, go to clear formats, clear format. If you say clear all, it will clear both the data. If you say clear content, it will clear only the content, but I want to clear only formats. Okay, so having done so, um, the next thing I may want to do is I have the options of selecting, formatting this table according to table style. Sorry, according to, yes, table styles here. That's a possibility. But for some reasons, I may not want to use that. So, but if you don't want to stress yourself, you can do something like this. Once you convert this to table, it applies all of this. But I don't think this will work for what I want. So let me format it myself. This is just for pictorial purposes. So I'll begin by the border style, go to more borders, select the middle one only, and then the top and the bottom. Click OK. So the lines are in that manner. So I may actually want those lines to have green color. That would be fine. Okay, so let them borrow the color we are dealing with. So let the color be this particular green. Click OK. All right, whatever, I just wanted to borrow that green color. Have I selected the green color and then select this, and select this? Let's see. I don't know why it's not applying, but this, I highlight this and color it with the background color of green. That's there seems to be a difference between the two shades of green between this one and that one. All right, but I wouldn't want to concern myself so much with that. It's just about getting the right shades. Put this as bold and make this white, make the font color white. Now, I think there is something very important I am omitting, and that is the important thing I'm omitting is the title for these visuals. And what is even the essence of this grand total I'm showing? Okay, so I want to undo that, and then remove this grand total. And for me to be able to write the name of, for me to be able to write the name of this visual, I will join this, merge this together. So what's the name of this visual? Call it number of visits per year. All right, I can make that bold, and let the color be that green. The green we'll be wanting to use. Okay, so the same thing, I would want to do away with this and move this table a little bit downwards, and then in like manner, I want to merge these. So I think we've basically designed the dashboard. So let's call this. There are two things showing here: number of trained workers and then number of trainings conducted. So let's just call this training info or training details. Okay, so make this bold, put that color, and here I can just go pick this and rub it here. It applies, and then pick these two and rub it like this so that the lines too will apply. Okay. Then let's get to these charts. So these charts, of course, to get this color to become green will be more reasonable to do. So I click on it, go to which of these is going to help. This is about general coloring. Let me just fill the color of the charts with that green that I like. Okay. That settles it. That settles it. I would have actually loved this chart to be a lot longer. That would have been more interesting. But so we can accommodate other visuals. Except if we make it this longer, we'll still be able to drop these. Okay, it's possible. We'll now be able to drop this. Okay, this will work actually. We'll drop this here and then go back and return the one I deleted earlier and drop it beside it. So which one was it? It was this number of facilities each state had. So I go to insert. I used donut the last time. So let me move it to that place already. Move it to wireframe. Click OK. All right. It has to be small, no matter how stubborn it is. It just has to be small. It just has to be small. Okay. So this can go. I think this can also go because it's already showing number of trained workers. And just like we had before, I would want to put the data label. The data label. Instead of values, I would want it. Okay, values is fine. Values is fine. Okay, and that should be written in white. That text should be written in white so that it can appear. But there's a lot of struggle anyway. So if you're able to fit the, instead of having this legend beside, if it's possible to have the legend attached in the same manner in which these values are attached, we'll have a better visual. That's the truth. But let's not bother ourselves so much about this. So we'll make do with this for the moment, even if these values are not really showing interestingly well. Okay, but basically this is what it can look like. So let's bring in the picture that will stand as the picture that will stand as the logo. Click on insert, click on illustration, select pictures, place over cells or place inside cells. Let me just place it over cells. Click here to select the particular picture I want. Okay, so I know I had a picture like that in this folder. So if I select this and insert, the picture is here. I minimize it to cover this place. Okay, then this is where I should have the name of the organization. So I wouldn't want this line to show. On that note, I'm going to delete the line. How do I delete the line? I'm going to say clear formatting. Clear, both formatting and content, in fact, can go on in this sense. Okay, so the next thing I highlight this and merge them. Let me merge these cells. Click on merge, it becomes one. And then I can equally merge this one. So it becomes one too. Okay, in this first one, what did we write? Let me see our demo. Supportive supervision dashboard. Supportive supervision dashboard. Permit me to just copy this. All right. So in this place, we insert. Oh, it's complaining about the size. Let me just type it. Supportive supportive supervision dashboard. Okay. So we can do whatever formatting, make it green, font size 40. That okay? 40 is out of order. So I guess 25 will be reasonable. And make it bold if you wish. Supportive supervision dashboard. I don't know. Okay, in this case, what do we want to say? Not central. Okay, so this is for North Central Zone. For North Central Zone, make it bold. Make this one bold now. All right. What next? There are a few things we could actually do that will add color to our dashboard. Let's see if we can do a couple of them. Can draw a line here. So let me insert. No. Undo. Okay. Okay. So I just want to kind of draw a line here. Draw one tiny line. Can use fill color to get that. Is that the right fill color? Can we use this? And then and make it more tiny. All right. This is more like it. Our dashboard is ready. Lastly, for it to look as real as you are seeing, there are some other enhancements that can actually come in, like putting slicers, like putting, there are if some of the dashboards you see online, they can insert a picture behind it that you will not understand what is happening. But in this case, let me just remove the grid lines first and let's see the beauty of our design. So to remove the grid line, click on view and click on grid lines. They can appear, they can be removed. So now that I've removed the grid lines, this is the appearance of our dashboard. This is the look and feel of our dashboard. So this is the dashboard. I want to assume that I've done justice to this. Um, it's a combination of a lot of skills. Your graphic abilities will come into play, plus your understanding of Microsoft Excel on one hand, and the understanding of what we refer to as design principles will also come to play. So um, it cannot just happen by all of a sudden. However, it's something you can continue to practice until you get used to doing it. So I encourage you to do your own practice on your own, see how much you can improve on what we have shown so that um, you too can be able to implement a dashboard for your program, for your organization, and maybe for your clients. Thank you very much for being part of this. It's always a pleasure having to demonstrate things like this to interested persons, and my joy will be more full when I have you practice what has been taught and you're able to put it to use. That's when I'll be more excited. So that's my dashboard for now. I will now rename this instead of wireframe. Let me call it dashboard. Thank you very much for being part of this. And like I said, I'll be waiting to see your own dashboard. I'll be most excited to see your own dashboard. God bless you. And thank you for staying put and for being patient with us. You're welcome.